The Mose Knows podcast, hosted by Corey Mose, greatly appreciates you for tuning into this week's episode. Enjoy.
Good morning.
And good evening, beautiful people. It has been a tremendous week, Dion, when it comes to sports. You have big-time trades happening in Minnesota and New York. In the NBA, you have the WNBA playoffs happening. And, of course, in the football world, college football, there's been electricity every single week. And now NFL as well. Things are starting to pick up. Trends are starting to happen. And now we're starting to realize who these teams actually are and what their identities are as well. And what we found out this past week here in Austin, Texas is SEC ready. I mean, we've known that for the last couple of weeks, but now we really know that after beating the brakes off Mississippi State. Why are you smacking your lips, bro?
That's not what we learned.
Why are you smacking your lips, bro?
We learned that Quinn got that bread, man. That's
what you mean? Those weren't his chains. Those weren't his chains.
Big old T-Pain chains, boy. God.
That boy Quintavious Ewers was out there pregame rocking chains from Cam Williams, the right tackle, and running back Jaden Blue. And he had the ice on his wrist as well. He got a little rolly. Had the Apple Watch on the other wrist. Boys rocking 2 watches at one time. He was having a good time out there in the sidelines looking at him before the game. But he knew what was going to happen. He realized that Texas was going to go down against Mississippi State and just handle business. The defense was actually the part of the game that really stood out to me. They were able to hold Mississippi State multiple times on short field situations. Whenever the Longhorn offense, more importantly, Jaden Blue fumbled twice, put them in bad situations. It didn't matter. The defense stepped up and got some big time stops. So the defense really proved that they're SEC ready. Of course, Arch Manning was under center. He looked very, very, very good. Doing a celebration, doing a dance celebration. Shout out to Ann Parker Coleman, my teammate at KVU, for getting that shot that has now gone viral. And yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous day for Texas Longhorns as the SEC opener, and they're now 1-0 in conference play. Next up is OU for the Red River rivalry, but we'll be talking about that later on in the pod with my guy Alex Okafor as he breaks down what he liked the most out of that matchup against Mississippi State and what he's looking forward to in this bye week and, of course, in that rivalry game in a couple weeks. But for right now, Dion, we're going to talk about Minnesota with Reggie Wilson. We're going to talk about the NFL pick'em, about how that went and how you kind of screwed yourself last week by not pressing submit. And then right now, I just wanted to speak about your week. How'd you do this week? How you going? How's everything going on in your life? You good, bro?
Yeah, good week. 2 fantasy wins. I'm going on vacation this Friday to Panama. So yeah, this has been a good week, man. I mean, it's always good when you can get a fantasy win. I mean, dominant wins is to put that on top. But yeah, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I won in all 3 of my leagues this week. We just both had good weeks, you know what I'm saying? Both had good weeks. Even though I lost Rasheed Rice this week, it looks like for the season. So that's unfortunate. But, you know, we keep it moving. We still won. And I beat a guy, Angelo, your best friend, who was 3-0. Now he's not. Now he's 3-1. So suck it, Angelo, if you're listening. But anyways, let's go into our breakdown of Texas' game against Mississippi State with my guy, Alex Okafor. I'm excited to ask him about Colin Simmons, a true freshman defensive end who has been killing it from Duncanville. And he had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss against Mississippi State. Like I said, as a true freshman, he's nasty, folks. He's probably going to be an All-American pretty soon. So here's our conversation with Alex Okafor as we talk about Simmons, as we talk about the bye week, as we talk about the SEC opener, as we talk about everything Texas. Here's our combo. All right, man. Joined by my guy, Alex Okafor, now Longhorn legend, now in the Hall of Fame. Shout out, Alex Okafor. First, I want to talk to you about that. What was that moment like for you when you got named to be in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, and when you got the call? Where were you at? What were you doing?
Yeah, man, it was crazy. So I was actually, whenever I got the call, I was actually outside cutting the grass, and my phone. Yeah, I was gonna say my phone's in the garage. I ain't have it on me. Outside cutting the grass. I go back to my phone and I look. It's a missed call and a message with it. Okay, check the message, and it's CDC Chris Del Conte. He's like, "Hey, Alex, this is CDC. We heard you're on the school board out in Pflugerville, and I got a couple issues I got to take up with you." So you know how CDC is. He's always joking. He's always playing around. So I get that voicemail, and I'm like, hold on, what does he want? Because I'm a new board member at the time, so I know it couldn't be that deep. But at the same time, I know it ain't I didn't think it was the Hall of Honor induction. So I didn't know what he wanted. Called him back. He told me, hey, I'm just messing with you. I want to let you know that you're going to be part of the 2024 class going into the Hall of Honor. How do you feel? And honestly, I was speechless. I probably sounded like a fool on the phone. Like, I wish you could go back and play the whole phone conversation, because I was speechless, man. I didn't think it could be possible for me. So it was special.
You deserve it, my guy. You deserve it. You're
you.
just a pillar, not only just in that Texas sports world, but also just in our community for what you continue to do. And so I always tell you this when you come on the pod. I'm just so honored to be a friend and to know you personally, and whatever you continue to do in this life, and you can be so successful at anything that you put your mind to. So you've been putting your mind to a lot of sports talk, especially football. And I've been seeing all the stuff that you've been doing, not only on the TV, the local TV airs, but also on podcasts now, and now on LHN. Congratulations for third and Longhorn for that as well. You're just climbing up, bro. But I want to talk about that SEC opener, dog, against Mississippi State. Arch looked great, but I had you on because I just want to talk about that true freshman, bro. Yep. Colin Simmons, playing edge where you played at, bro. Like, he's different. I mean, I think it's time to say that he is different. What do you liked about the kid so far?
Yeah, no, Colin is special. You hit it right on the head. This dude is different. From what I see with Colin is, like, he's been blessed with a lot of natural abilities that he recognizes, and he uses it to his strength. Like, he understands he's not, like, size-wise, he needs to get a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier. He understands that. So as a true freshman, he's hitting you with every single speed rush in the bag until his power gets there. And to me, that's the intangibles that you can't teach. Like, he's been blessed, like I said, physically with an amazing get off, with the quickness, with the bend, the flexibility, and all that type of stuff. But he also has it up top too, man. That's why he's been on the field so early, because he's grasping the playbook. He knows, I'm not the biggest rusher on the field, but I might be the fastest. Let me use that to my advantage. So to me, what I love about him is, outside of his athletic ability and natural gifts, he's still playing the game and approaching the game the right way, which is crazy for somebody his age.
And I think for me, what's surprised me is that I know coming in he was a pass rusher. We all knew he had those type of intangibles, but the run defense that he's been able to show, 3 tackles for loss against Mississippi State. I mean, he's been phenomenal in that end as well, which is something I didn't expect coming into the games when he started to play a little bit more. And I just think the sky, I mean, the ceiling is the sky for him. Like, there is no ceiling. Like, he can become a dominant player in this defense as long as, like you said, listen to Coach Becton, put on some weight, put on some speed, and he's going to be dominant like he is right now. But I know Dion wanted to ask about coming up, this team. What'd you like, Dion?
I really want to know, like, who does he remind you of?
Yeah,
like,
and kind of,
we don't want to put no crazy names, but if it's just somebody you can say, okay, bet this is something. He reminds me a lot of this guy. Who would you say?
Yeah. Well, first, let me go back and address what Mo was talking about. Just him, obviously, we know the type of rusher he is, but him being able to play in the run game, I just want to address that real quick. Like, I knew he was an excellent rusher in high school. Sometimes that doesn't always translate because of the talent level. So seeing him rush, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little surprised. His bag is deeper than I thought it was. Like, he is an advanced rusher for somebody his age. Like, he has 3 or 4 different moves that he's hitting these guys. I've seen him hit a side swipe. I've seen him hit the dip and lean, but also I've seen an advanced rush, like a ghost stab and come underneath, which was just introduced in the league maybe like 5 years ago. So he's advanced beyond his years. And I want to say defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski's in the run game is putting him in a good position, because you don't really see him playing too tight. You don't see him in a tight 5. Whenever he's on the field, you see him in 5 down front, stuff like that, where he can be in a wide 9 and really set a firm edge. So between him and the coaching staff, they're really putting him in a position to win. Now, kind of addressing Dion's point of who do I view him as, and he's like, don't say nobody crazy. Well, we don't really get to see athletes like him, so it's hard not to say something crazy. So, I mean, I'm gonna say something crazy. Within Colin Simmons, I see Von Miller and I see Micah Parsons. And the reason why I say that is obviously the get off. the get off that Von Miller has, coming out of a 2-point stance, go stab, always edge rushing. But in terms of Micah Parsons, I see an undersized guy who's really slippery. And for some reason, offensive linemen can't seem to get their hands on him. So those are my two comparisons. I know they're crazy comparisons, but that's all I see out here for him.
I don't think it's crazy, bro. He wears number 11 for a reason. That's who he looks up to.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing, man. And even Micah's come out and posted pictures with Colin, and they have a relationship, and I'm sure he's learned a couple moves from Micah when they've been training in Dallas before he got to the 40 acres. And so, like I said, man, his future is bright, but so is this defense led by another guy whose future is bright, Anthony Hill Jr., All-American. I'm just going to say it right now. He's going to be an All-American this year. What have you liked just in the totality of this defense playing arguably the best ball in the country right now, coming from your point of view as a former defensive standout? What do you like about that side of the ball?
Yeah, well, first let me address Anthony Hill, and I think you hit it right on the head. In my opinion, he's been the best linebacker in the country for the past 2 to 3 weeks. Like, his game is on another level right now, and that's saying something because last year, after watching him, I said he might be in the wrong position. Like, I very easily saw him being like the Colin Simmons type guy that we have this year. I could very easily see him having a successful career on the edge, but then this season came and it's like, wow, I was wrong. Like, this dude, he's a difference maker at linebacker, and I see it now. As to answer your question about this defense as a whole, man, they're playing at an absurd level, and they've addressed all of the weaknesses that we had for them last year. Like, secondary was a big concern for the defense last year, especially after that Washington game, left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Well, they've answered the call this year, especially with the Syntech safeties, Jade Barron, Michael Taff, and Andrew Makuba. Like, they are balling back there. And you put in a Jalen Gilbo, and then you don't even hear Malik Muhammad's and Gavin Holmes' name on
They're
Saturday.
not even throwing Malik's way, bro.
Bro, he's a shutdown corner in his second year. Like, this defense is on another level. And then you look at what they lost in the draft, and you see they lost two D tackles, two all-American D tackles, Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. You would think there would be a weakness within that middle, but we're playing the run game as strong as ever, and it's looking good. You got to give credit to Pete Kwiatkowski and Johnny Nansen for the looks that he's been giving this defense.
Yeah, Johnny Nansen has been a terrific hire, it feels like, and he's been able to bring along a guy in Leonga Lafau, who's also been a name that's been popping off the page. And we heard a lot about Lafau in the preseason and training camp, and now you're finally getting to see what everyone's been talking about in real time, especially with that safety this past week. But we wanted to flip it now to the conversation of the bye week, Alex. I mean, you've been through multiple bye weeks. What is the goal in your mind for bye weeks, and what do you think this team specifically is trying to accomplish with this week off?
Yeah. So the goal for bye weeks is 1, get healthy, 2, get better. And it's funny that those are always the two goals because they're hard to get done at the same time. Like, it's hard to get healthy and better at the same time because to get better, you got to push yourself. You got to have full padded practices. It's almost like a training camp mentality, but at the same time, you're depleted, so you don't really have the numbers to have these type of practices. So it's weird. It's almost like an oxymoron, but those are always the two goals. When it comes to this Texas team's bye week, I think they're in a good place. Like, I felt like if they were going to have a bad game, which I considered the Mississippi State game a bad game to our standards, I'm glad it came right before the bye week so we can address those deficiencies. And I think they got to do that. I just finished giving the defense their credit about how well they've been playing. But I think there's still some meat left on the bone with this unit. Like, I think they could even be a little bit more stout in the run department. Like, they played excellent up front, but I think we can shut the door just a tad bit more up front. And offensively, they've got to find a way to get these penalties under control, and we got to find a way to get more explosive plays in the run game. So I think if we address those 3 to 4 points, plus get our health back in order, we'll be in position to make an outstanding run towards the end of the season.
Yeah, it's been interesting with this O-line. You spoke about them. 3 offensive linemen now won SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week out of the 5 weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. And so Kevin Banks just picked up the one recently. I mean, that O-line is making a lot of money for themselves this season. Yeah. A Jake Majors, a Cam Williams, moving up draft boards. I've been seeing the mocks and they're making a ton of bread for themselves. But the other thing I just wanted to ask you about was just the SEC in general. Is this team ready? I know this team's ready, but this, I guess you could say, treacherous stretch now with Oklahoma and then Georgia. What do you think is a message by not getting too far ahead of themselves and knowing that every game is important?
Yeah. I think the message is, like you said, take it week by week, and you got to know that you're going to get everybody's best shot and that there's a different talent level coming into conference play. And I feel like we experienced all that with the Mississippi State game. Like, I think that was a wake-up call for this team. And it was an important wake-up call, and it's going to be the mentality of this team for the rest of the season. Can't underestimate opponents. Not saying they did that, but obviously we didn't come out as sharp as we wanted to. And knowing that this is Texas and you are a top 3 team, like, people already hate you because you Texas and they think you spoiled. But now you have the ranking with your team to go along with that hatred. So you're just it's a double whammy. There's always going to be a target on your back. And our team has to come out every single weekend knowing that.
Yeah, you spoke about not playing up to the standard against Mississippi State. I think Jaden Blue would say he didn't play up to his standard personally with 2 fumbles. What do you say to a guy like that? Or have you been in locker rooms where a guy may be having some fumbling issues and, coach may basically send a message out to the rest of the team by not playing Jaden the rest of the game? Have you been in that situation?
Yeah, I have. And I think Coach Sark handled it the right way. I think Blue had to get pulled after that second fumble just because he has a history now. Like, dating back to last year, he has a history. So I felt like Sark did the right thing, but he also, after the game, you saw Jaden Blue address the media. So that shows the maturity on his end. Yeah, I give it to him. There's people in the league that don't even do that. So you see the maturity on this team, and that tells me that Jaden Blue's going to be okay. I do want to address Longhorn Nation. Like, I know Longhorn Nation right now, they're piling on Blue right now, and I don't think it's fair. Like, if for us to reach the goals that we want to reach, which is a national championship, to me, the offense needs to go through Jaden Blue. I think our offense is at its best when Jaden Blue is playing well, and as a Longhorn fan, you want us to be doing that. Like, you want us to feed Blue, which means that he's holding on to the ball. So instead of tearing players down, lift them up, because if you want a championship as a fan, we need Jaden Blue. And that's a fact.
I think it's so funny.
I got a
The
question.
2-week span. Okay, say less. The 2-week span, right? Conversations of Jaden Blue after ULM, 4 touchdowns. Everyone's loving Blue. Oh, he's so phenomenal. I'm glad to have Blue back. Oh, man, we're so happy. Then a week later, get him out of here. He can't hold on to the football. Like, bro, what are we doing? So, yeah, I totally agree with you, AO. What's up, Dion?
Alex, I just want to know, how do you deal with this QB controversy, this Quinn?
Ain't no controversy, Dion. Stop it, bro.
Wait. How do you deal with this controversy? You know that, Arch has a big game starting, and Quinn goes out here with these big chains to steal all the attention for himself. How would you handle that? And, how do you think this QB controversy is unfolding? Because I think that was a low blow move. Because why would Quinn do that?
It's Quintavious. It's not.
I was gonna say that was Quintavious on Saturday. No, I don't think it was a low blow move. I think that was Quinn telling everybody, I'm ready. Like, I think Quinn saying, like, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm coming. Like, and I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, you haven't heard a word out of him. You haven't heard any shade from him. From all we know, he's supported Arch throughout this whole journey. So that's all we can ask from him. But if I'm Quinn, I feel the same way. Like, oh, don't forget about me. Like, everything that Arch has done, besides those runs, of course, but everything that Arch has done, I've been doing for the past 2 years. So, I mean, I'm with Quinn on that front. And going back to addressing the controversy, like C-Mo was saying, there's no controversy. Like, Quinn going down this year and us seeing 2 games of Arch, 2 full, complete games of Arch, to me, I think Quinn has separated itself. And that's no knock on Arch. I thought Arch almost played flawlessly, but I just see Quinn using the middle of the field a little bit more than Arch is right now. And that's just because Quinn has a little bit more experience. And I think that gives us the best chance to win.
Yeah, man, Dion trying to start controversy. Though, I will not have my name attached to that at all, bro. Bro, what? But you're totally right, though, Ayo. I feel like we all recognize the importance of Quinn. And when these last 2 weeks, you got to see, especially in that first game against ULM, you know, everyone's looking around after Arch threw that pick. It's like, oh, my goodness, we missed Quinn. I didn't know we needed him that bad. So I will say this, though. While watching that game against Mississippi State, I kept looking at my sports partner, Jeff, and saying, Arch is playing phenomenally. It's the running game and the defense that's having everything kind of hold up. But if they were just able to keep the ball and not having so many penalties, like you mentioned, and not turning the ball over, Arch would have crazy stats right now. That whole first half, he played great. And you weren't able to really see it on the scoreboard because they kept on kind of stabbing themselves in the foot. So, like you said, get the penalties together this bye week. Make sure Blue has on like tape, kind of like that scene in Friday Night Lights when he's like, "Can you hold on to the football?" That was a crazy scene, by the way, with the girl in the room. Oh my god, bro, that was a crazy scene on Friday Night Lights.
That was wild.
Yeah, that was wild. So maybe not go to that extent, but yes, man, we can get everything down pat, figure out the fumbling issues, figure out the holding penalties and the false starts. And this team is looking like the number one team in the nation, but they'll get a good test. You never know what happens in the Red River rivalry. And so before I let you go, AO, just want to ask you, what was your favorite Red River experience?
Ooh, favorite one. Well, mine are selective because I want to say I lost 3 out of 4. So that,
didn't know that. My bad.
So I only have 1 year by default. I got 1 year by default, and that's 2009. And that was the game that I want to say AJ Williams hit Sam Bradford, and Sam Bradford went down on like the second drive of the game, which was crazy because that was Sam Bradford was number 1 overall pick after that year. So
yeah,
unreal game, unreal moment. That was the year that we went on to the national championship. So 2009 Oklahoma game, 2009 Red River rivalry got to be my favorite for sure.
What's it like running out, bro? And you see the 50-50 split.
No better experience like it, man. Like everybody tries to say Michigan, Ohio State is the best rivalry in college football, and I've never been to that game, so I can't compare it. But knowing what it feels like running out the tunnel during the Red River rivalry and seeing that split, like where else are you getting a split like that? I've never seen anything like that in my life before college. And I can just tell you, I don't believe there's another atmosphere that can match that atmosphere out in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl.
It's beautiful, and they're finally fixing up the Cotton Bowl after 50 years. So thank you for.
Oh, they're putting some money into it.
Yeah, they found in the press box. Yeah, they're doing some things up there. They finally put some money back into it. So they need to, because it is horrible. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no, it's atrocious. But that's that kind of adds to the mystique of the game. Like, you know, the facilities ain't gonna be up to par. So it's like we just playing football. There's no extracurriculars, just ball. Yeah.
Are these the type of games that I'm sorry? I knew I said I was going to let you go after this, but this just come to my mind. Are these the type of games that scare you though, as a Texas alum? A game where Texas is clearly the better team, and all the talk is about them. And next week after that is Georgia. That's the real matchup. Knowing the rivalry and what it all means, I think back to when Charlie Strong was the head coach here, and they weren't supposed to win that year, and they did. And so, are these the games that kind of scare you a little bit?
They are, and as a fan base, the only time that you're not scared is a situation like that Coach Strong situation where you're just so far like an obvious underdog that you have nothing to lose. That's the only time that you're not worried as a fan. Any other time, like, you know that the record does not matter and anything can happen in this game. So that's where my head's at. Luckily, not luckily, but fortunately enough for us this year, we lost to them last year. So there shouldn't be a situation where they get overlooked. So,
yeah, you should have seen David Bender's eyes when they asked him about playing Oklahoma again. You know how that all went down last year. Kind of was on him on that last play, and he said he's ready to avenge himself. And
that's the crazy part. That's what I love about Bender. It was on him, but he wasn't the only one that messed up on that play, and he didn't toss nobody else under the bus. So I give it to David for that. He a real one.
That's a leader. It's a leader right there. Hey, your boy Andy Reid and Pat gonna figure things out? All these injuries out there.
I mean, they are going. I mean, this is the third year in counting. I mean, everybody said they had the worst roster in history, or at least the worst receiving unit in history last year or 2 years ago, and they still won it. I mean, I've learned as long as they got Pat, as long as they got Trav, Big Red, and Chris Jones, those are the four names. Those are the 4 stars. They got those 4. They always got a chance. And Pacheco's coming back later this season. So I can envision them heating up around week 14, 15.
I have full faith. Excited to see where X's role kind of upgrades to, with Rashee Rice now being down, and see how much more work Worthy is going to get. And hey, I've been hearing Amari Cooper, been hearing Devontae Adams. That'd be nice. They can get them boys.
They can just get whoever.
Everyone wants to be a Chief, man. Everyone wants to win a ring. Everyone wants to win a ring. That's the luxury.
Everybody
I know someone that won a ring.
Alex, you gotta tell us about your fantasy team.
Oh, facts.
Okay. Oh, so I am sitting 2-2 right now. I'm not upset about that. I'm sitting 2-2, and I feel like my best is still yet to come. Like, I got Bijan on the team, and he ain't even popped off yet. I had Ken Walker on my bench last night, and I lost yesterday, so that hurt. But you know what? I got him moving forward. He's coming back from an injury.
You know what the snap count was gonna be. I understand.
Yeah, he ain't played in 3 weeks.
Charbonnet had a good game last week, so you would have thought Charbonnet would get more touches. Yeah, I
thought it'd be like a 60-40 split, something like that. So I'm still learning, but I'm in a good position, and it's looking up for me.
Have you got hit by the injury bug?
AJ Brown hurt me. Man, when AJ Brown went down that first week, man, I was like, not again. not again, because I had Justin Jefferson last year, and the same thing happened. So I'm like, come on now.
Need to get back right.
We in the same boat, Alex. We in the same boat.
At least you ain't got a guy that ain't got 2 Achilles.
Random. Oh yeah, Corey.
At least you ain't got a guy that ain't got 2 Achilles.
Oh, you had the number 1 overall pick?
No, I had the number 2. That's the worst part. I thought he fell in my lap. Like, bro, McCaffrey at 2? Yeah, easy pick.
Yeah.
Joke's on me.
That's tough. That's tough. So let me ask you this: Are you holding on, or are you about to sell?
Nah, I'm holding on, bro. I got Jordan Mason, so like,
okay, you good,
I was able to pick him up. Yeah, so I'm holding off. I'm gonna see how it all pans out. But I didn't know both his Achilles was messed up. Thought it was just one. So
that's like,
it's possible.
That's wild, bro.
I don't know what type of medicine they got over there in Germany. Hey, y'all be talking about that in the locker room? Hey, yo, that Germany medicine?
So I don't. You said German? Wait, hold on. You got to rephrase the question. Like, what? That's funny. Anyway,
Germany,
No, we don't have conversations about going over to Germany. That's a little bit next level. But we do have conversations surrounding like stem cell treatments and stuff like that. Like it is common practice to go get some stem cell treatment. Now, if you got to go all the way to Germany, that tells me you're getting a little something else. But that's okay. You know, it is what it is.
Trying to get you back on the field. You gotta get back on the field, huh?
Yeah,
I feel that. Well, I'll let you get back to doing your life. I know we spent up way too much time of your life, so my apologies. But man, always great having you, Ayo. You're awesome.
I was gonna say, y'all know this is my favorite pod, man. You know, I'll drop everything to be on here, so pleasure is mine, man.
Yeah, I'm so happy for Alex for getting to that Hall of Honor, though, man. That's such a great accomplishment for a guy that continues to make an impact not only on campus but also in his community for Pflugerville, a part of the school board out there. So, Dion, what'd you like about our combo with Ayo?
I love the comparison that he made for Collins. You know, from somebody as an elite player that's probably paying attention to him more than I am, it's good to kind of put in perspective how amazing that he is at such a young age. And it's crazy how a lot of young guys around college football are doing great automatically. I mean, the guy from what was it, Alabama?
Yeah, Ryan Williams.
Yeah, so I think he's Serena's cousin too. That's kind of
crazy. You seen that? Yeah, she shouted him out on Twitter.
Wild. But yeah, I love that he put that in comparison. I mean, those are some big names, and I mean, he's obviously doing great. So yeah, I mean, Texas they know how to find him. What about you?
Yeah, I think what stood out to me was his comment about the Red River rivalry, right? Anything can happen in that game. We're going into this game, and Texas is the hot shot. They're undefeated. You know, they're top 2 in the nation. Going against the Oklahoma squad that just can't seem to do anything competent on offense. But these are the games that you think you got it in the bag, and then next thing you know, you're in a tight one late in the fourth quarter with a team that you're supposed to be blowing out by 30. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how that one pans out. And like AO said, there's sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen in a rivalry game, and that's what makes everything fun, though, right? You just don't know. The unknown is always fun when it comes to football. So excited for that matchup in a couple weeks, and just want to thank Alex Okafor again for hopping on the pod. All right, let's transition over to our NFL pick'ems now. Last week, I did pretty good. I had 7 points, I believe. Dion, you don't know how good you did.
I forgot to press submit, but before this is posted, it'll be at the bottom here somewhere. If he got 7, I probably got like 5 or 6. So, yeah. Probably a rough week.
Come on, bro.
A lot of close games. that I thought were going to be blowouts. So.
Those 0.5s be killing us, though. I will say that. The Houston 0.5 killed me last week. I think the San Francisco 0.5 killed me as well. But
Cowboys
0.5. Yeah.
I tried to actually bet on that. Yeah, that's 0.5.
Oh, you actually put money on it? That's crazy.
Yeah, I put my little bread on it. It's crazy because on my sportsbook it was 5. So
I'm sorry. Sorry about it. Sorry about it. But hopefully you have better luck this week, right? As we go into this week's picks. Now, last week, our lock of the week my lock of the week was Minnesota. I think yours was Houston. I was going to go Houston, but you stole them. So I went to Minnesota, and Minnesota clobbered Green Bay Packers. And we're actually going to be talking about the Vikings after we do our pick'em with Reggie Wilson. He's a sports anchor out there in Minnesota. There's a lot to talk about for that city, bro. Like, there's a lot of things going down in Minnesota right now. The Vikings are undefeated. You got the Lynx in the WNBA playoff semifinals. And recently, this past week, big news. Julius Randle is coming over. Dante DiVincenzo is coming over. Shout out to all the Italianos out there. And they're sending over Karl Anthony Towns to New York in the trade. Big news in the NBA world. Out of nowhere, too. So I just want to talk to Reggie about what the heck is happening in Minnesota right now. But we'll get to him later in the pod. Right now, let's talk about our Week 5 NFL pick'ems. And we're going to start with Chicago versus Carolina. The Bears are 4.5-point favorites. Carolina is coming off a game where they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals, giving the Bengals their first win of the season, while Chicago got a dub this past week. Chicago versus Carolina. Who you got, bro?
I got Carolina. I think they'll cover the 4.5. Chicago, I mean, they're winning games, but it don't look.
It's pretty ugly.
Yeah, it's ugly football. Caleb still looks not as he was expected. So, yeah, I'm gonna get Carolina to cover. I think the Red Rifle bounces back this week. What about you?
Okay, so I'm gonna go Bears just because I like their defense. Yes, Caleb looks not great. He only had 93 yards passing last week, which is crazy. Crazy. But I mean, you'll be able to get your passing yards up against Carolina. Did you see that play with Jamar Chase, bro? Like
ping pong.
I mean, a reporter in the locker room after the game asked if he had on baby oil.
Yeah, I know.
Which is like, come on, bro. Like,
from worst to worst, you got people asking the other team. That is crazy.
That's wild. And so, like, I just don't like Carolina's defense. I think this is the week that Caleb can get those big numbers that we've all been waiting for. Another week with Keenan Allen being healthy. Hopefully that helps out with another week of practice together. And that defense, I just don't see Carolina scoring a lot of points against this Bears defense, because that's the reason why they've been winning games. 2 picks last week, and I just see the Red Rifle throwing another one. So I got Carolina covering by 4.5. Next up, we got another team that finally showed up this week, Baltimore, going against Cincinnati, AFC North battle, and Baltimore are 2.5-point favorites in that matchup. Who do you have for this one?
If we see the Ravens of this week, I got the Ravens. If they are running down your throat with the king in the back, yeah, I got the Ravens. I think Cincy is still – they had a good win, but, I mean, I think this is a year where we look at them a little different. So, yeah, I got the Ravens.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It just feels like Cincy hasn't figured things out. You beat a Carolina squad that's maybe the worst team in the league, and it wasn't great. It wasn't easy. It was a hard-fought win. And so, yeah, I'm going Baltimore as well. I just think we're starting to see what we all assumed what would happen in the preseason. Whenever you got the news that Derrick Henry was signing with the Ravens, you're like, golly, Lamar and Derrick Henry with Patrick Ricard in that backfield. Ugh, that's nasty. And you got to see it this past week. So let's see if they can keep that ball rolling against Cincy. Next up, Houston gave me a heart attack last week, almost losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was crazy. They wanted to give that game away, clearly, but Jacksonville just didn't want to win. So thank you, Jacksonville. But now Houston has Buffalo coming into town, who the Bills are coming off a loss that a lot of people didn't expect it to be that lopsided. And so I have Houston in this one covering. They're only 0.5 favorites, which is basically a toss-up. Whoever you think is going to win is going to cover the spread. And so I have Houston covering. Who do you have, Dion?
Yeah, same here, Houston. I think Houston just got too many weapons. Yeah, if I got to pick, both these teams are good, but if I had to pick one, I have to go with the team with all the weapons. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Houston and the boys.
Yeah, I like the home field advantage for Houston, too. And speaking about Houston, the Astros are on right now, bottom of the ninth, down 3-1 to the Detroit Tigers in the first round of the playoffs in the wild card series. And it's 1 out, runners on second and third. So if you keep seeing me looking at the TV, that's why, man. It's the clutch time for Clutch City down there in Houston. But let's move on to the next matchup. Indianapolis are 2.5-point underdogs to Jacksonville. No one knows if Anthony Richardson's going to play. I think that's where this line is kind of at. That's why. But I still think the Colts are going to cover that 2.5-point spread just because I like Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco came in last week and won that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if Anthony Richardson doesn't play, I have full faith that Joe Flacco can beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so I'm going to go Colts plus 2.5. Who do you have, Dion?
Same. It's funny that we got these old guys coming in for these young guys, and they're playing like how you expect these young guys to play. Yeah, I'm going with Joe. Joe's going to get the ball to the people that need to get the ball. Thank God for my fantasy team. Pittman, it's our time, baby. It's our time. Let's go. So, yeah, I'm going Indy, cover this 2.5. I'm going to definitely put somebody on that for sure.
Yeah, I definitely am starting Josh Downs in all my leagues this week. I mean, you just got to. You have to. So, next up, a guy that I thought he was going to figure this thing out, but he just can't do it in Miami with Mike McDaniel. I thought, losing Tua a couple of seasons ago, he figured out how to kind of use a different quarterback. But after watching last night, them playing against the Tennessee Titans, they look horrible on offense without Tua. Like, they can't move the ball. I think Tyreek had 9 yards receiving on 3 catches. It just looked bad. And so they're going against the New England Patriots, who also have just looked bad this whole season, except for the first 2 weeks of the year. They are 0.5 favorites, New England that is, over Miami, which is surprising. But I still have the Patriots covering that 0.5. I think the Patriots are going to win this game just because Miami just can't move the ball. I just don't know how they're going to do it. And their defense, on the other hand, couldn't stop Tennessee's running game. And so that's not going to work well together. When you can't score the ball, when you can't score points, and you can't stop the running game of the other team, that's always a recipe for disaster. So I have the Patriots 0.5. Who do you have, Dion?
Same. I'm trusting that New England has a decent defense. But yeah, like you say, I watched a little bit of the game. It looked like they were doing the same stuff that Tua would do, but it's just like
just not working.
It just Tyler Huntley was trying to do what Tua did, and it's like he's overthrowing it to this receiver, throwing it way over here. It didn't look good. So yeah, I'm rocking with New England.
But that just shows how much importance Tua is to this offense. I think we've seen it year in and year out whenever Tua doesn't play, and you see the lack of production, and it's a drastic lack of production whenever Tua's playing when he's not. But I just thought by now a mastermind like McDaniel would figure it out and figure out some adjustments to make sure the personnel that he has is being utilized at the fullest degree. But it just hasn't worked out that way, and I just don't see it happening anytime soon. And so, all right, one thing that has been happening is this Jalen Daniels kid. I mean, he is the real deal. They are 3.5-point favorites over Cleveland, who's coming off a loss to the Raiders. And so, Dion, who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy, bro. We're going with the
easy lock of the week.
We're going with the Rook, man. We're going with the Rook. Again, I can never bet on Deshaun, so I just can't trust him. I can't trust him. The stuff I see from him every week, he may have one or two plays. It's like, oh, okay, that looks nice, but the rest of the plays, it looks bad. So, yeah, I'm rocking with the rookie, man. Washington -3.5. Put me in there. What about you?
This just feels like a trap game, right? I just feel like this is a game where Cleveland may win, but I can also see them just losing by 3. That 3.5 is a lot of points, I feel like. And, the way Cleveland plays defense, they have a really good defense. Yes, the offense is not great with Deshaun under center, but that defense is still that defense. And you have Myles Garrett on the other side. But I'm still going to go Washington, like I said earlier. But I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland does cover. Now, next matchup, Denver are 2.5-point favorites over the Las Vegas Raiders. Another division game. And these games are always close and they're always tight. And they're always just like anything can happen with the AFC West, it feels like. So, Dion, who do you have, the Broncos or the Raiders covering?
I mean, what Denver has shown us is that this defense is nothing to play with, and I think they finna have Devontae looking like a regular human being, and they finna be on Gardner Minshew's ass. So, lock me in with Denver -2.5. Yeah, it's gonna be another low 9-10 game. Bo Nix don't got to do much. He's a lucky guy.
He hasn't been doing much lately.
Yeah. It's crazy. He doesn't have to do. He can legit put up Caleb Williams numbers, and it is what it is. So yeah, lock me in with Denver. What about you?
Yeah, I like Denver as well. I don't even know what's going on with Davante Adams right now. He didn't play last week, and I actually just saw a soundbite from him about how Antonio Pierce, the head coach for the Raiders, liked a post on IG talking about Davante Adams maybe playing his last game as a Raider. And he got interviewed and talked about that post that apparently Coach Pierce liked, and Davante said he hadn't heard from Coach Pierce for the past week or so. So don't know what's happening in Las Vegas right now. I have no clue what's happening. And so, yeah.
That was the business decision he was talking about.
Yeah, definitely going Denver -2.5. By the way, the Astros bases are loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, down by 2 runs. Jason Hayward at the plate. I'm excited. Oh my goodness, I'm excited. Got money on this game, by the way, so I need these boys to come up with the dub. Anyways, let's move over to Arizona versus San Francisco. The Cardinals are 7.5-point underdogs to San Fran, who looks to be back. I think, Dion, they seem to be back. So, who do you have in this one?
I'll take San Francisco. I know last week I thought the 10.5 was too much, but they've shown that they can cover. So I'm definitely gonna rock with San Francisco.
Yeah, another divisional game, NFC West battle, and not gonna lie, I'm going to Arizona. I like Arizona in this spot. 7.5 points, a lot of points. Usually in these divisional games, I just feel like they're always tight. I feel like it's always a close game when these two teams play. Astros just lost, by the way. Dang it. Dang it. It was Hayward hit a steamer to first base, caught it out the air, game over. But got another game 2 tomorrow, so we'll see what happens, but the bread will not be refunded. So so there goes that. But anyways, my pick for Cardinals versus San Fran, like I said, I'm going Cardinals. I think this is a bounce back game for them as well. Remember, they just lost. And so anytime a team loses, I just always kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why. I just feel like they can bounce back. And especially when you lose like the way they did last week, 42-14 to the Commanders. I mean, they got embarrassed at home. So I'm sure that film day was a long film day of yelling and screaming and, looking personally and internally at yourself to figure out what you did wrong. And whenever those days happen, I'm sure they'll come out better than what they did last week. So, yeah, I got Cardinals plus 7.5. Next up, Green Bay, also another team that got embarrassed to the Vikings. They got their butts beat with Jordan Love back, by the way. And mind you, when I made my pick last week, I had no idea there was a shot that Jordan Love was playing. Had no idea. So when I saw him being part of the starting lineups, I got pissed because that was my lock of the week. And I thought, bro, if I would have known this information, this would have been great, but still came through. And so now they are 3.5-point favorites to the LA Rams. And we all know what's going on with the Rams right now. They're depleted at every single position, it feels like, except quarterback. Matthew Stafford's still chugging along. So, Dion, who do you got?
Give me Green Bay. I'm gonna, like you say, total beatdown this previous week. Hopefully this can be the week they can bounce back with a depleted Rams team. So yeah, lock me in with Green Bay -3.5. What about you?
Yeah, I think the same. I think this is a bounce back game for Jordan Love. It's a tough matchup to kind of come back after injury against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, that's tough. A team that's been locking down every single high-powered offense in the league so far. So I think this is a game where Jordan Love gets his legs back. He goes down the field against the Rams squad, who, like I said, just doesn't have anybody healthy, and they're able to cover that 3.5 points. And so, yeah, I'm going Green Bay as well. Next up is a squad that I watched last night and honestly was impressed by in the Seattle Seahawks. Geno still got it. I mean, he's moving around well. He's barking at the refs. He's throwing dots to Jackson Smith and Jigba, and DK Metcalf is still doing what DK does. And Kenneth Walker. Whew, I should have got him on one of my fantasy teams. Like, it's crazy how I never seem to ever have Walker on my league, in any of my leagues. But whoever has him had a great day last night. Even though they didn't get the win, they almost came back and beat the Lions. And so I have Seattle covering. They are 6.5 point favorites. I know that's a lot of points, 6.5, but they're playing the Giants. And so, look, it's the Giants. And Malik Neighbors isn't fully 100%. I don't know how he's dealing with the concussion right now. And if he's even like a 75, 80%, he's their offense. And without that, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. So, yeah, I got Seattle covering at 6.5. Who you got, D?
Yeah, give me Seattle. I think they have too many weapons. Geno looks really good. I love seeing the guys that you got to love the underdogs or quote unquote underdogs where they was counted out, and him, Baker, they look good. They look good, man. So yeah, give me Seattle -6.5. Giants just don't. They can't score in the red zone.
They can't.
They can't score, and then Daniel Jones. It's bad all around. It's bad all around over there. So yeah, give me Seattle.
I will say this: Daniel looked better than I thought he would against Dallas. I mean, he did throw a lot of footballs. I think he had 40 pass attempts, which he earned his money that night. But either way, though, he looked better than I thought he would, and I gotta give him props for that. Malik Neighbors, he's finding Wan'Dale Robinson as well. So just impressive. I thought he was impressive, to be honest. At least better than the trash I thought he was. So shout out Daniel Jones. I want to give you props. And you're not worth all that money, though. I'm going to say that for sure. But still, you're not as bad as I thought you were. So moving on to the team that beat the Giants last week, Dallas. They are actually underdogs to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's coming off a loss to Indianapolis. Dallas are 2.5 point underdogs to the Steelers. They have to go to Pittsburgh, by the way, so maybe that's why this line is at. And also, of course, the news with Micah Parsons being out with high ankle sprain, DeMarcus Lawrence getting put on injured reserve with the Liz Frank injury. And so their top two edge rushers and arguably their best defensive player is out against the Steelers. Who do you have, Dion?
I originally got Dallas on this pick'em, but I'm gonna change it to Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna rock with Justin Fields. I think that defense is disgusting, and like we already know, Dallas is one-dimensional right now. So, yeah, I'm gonna switch this to Pittsburgh to cover.
Okay, you got Pittsburgh -2.5. I actually have the Cowboys +2.5. This just seems like one of those games where they're supposed to lose, but they're not going to. I don't know. It just feels like one of those games for Dallas. Like, everyone's counting them out. They didn't play well against the Giants. They definitely hadn't played well before the Giants. And everyone seems to be riding the Steelers pretty high just because of TJ Watt. Justin Fields is playing really well. And I just feel like it's a game where Cowboys just come out and just prove that, like, hey, we're still the Cowboys. We can get a couple wins for sure. So I don't know. It just seems like one of those games, you know? And, without Parsons and Lawrence, I think that loss will be felt more if it was against a different team, because the Steelers don't really pass. They like to run the football a lot, ground and pound, make it a real lean on the defense, run the football, control the clock type game. And without Parsons and without Lawrence to rush the passer, you're going to miss them, but I just don't think it'll be as heavily felt as it would be against a team that maybe throws the ball 30 times a game. So I have faith that Dak will move the ball, even though TJ Watt is arguably the best player on defense in the league right now. I mean, he's balling out, so that's scary. But other than that, I don't know. I just have this feeling. that the Cowboys are going to cover this 2.5. So got Cowboys. And lastly, the last matchup, New Orleans versus Kansas City in prime time. 5.5 point spread. Dion, which way are you leaning?
Kansas City.
Kansas City covers.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a breakout game for Xavier Worthy. So if you got him on fantasy,
I mean, who else they got?
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Pat Mahomes taking everybody out. So, yeah, I'm gonna lock in KC. I think Derek Carr's came back to earth. He's not. These last couple games ain't been as crazy as the first couple. So yeah, lock me in with Patty and the boys.
Okay.
How about you?
I actually have Saints. I have Saints in prime time. You know, I think they always show up in prime time. Also, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, man. They love to keep things close. 5.5 points is a lot of points. Now, last week they covered their 7. Actually, no, they didn't cover their 7. They were 7.5 point favorites to the Chargers. They didn't cover that. They only won by 7. And so this week, 5.5 point favorites. I just don't know what's going to happen to this offense without Rashee Rice. And now a team has a whole week to prepare for a Kansas City offense that doesn't have their main weapon. And so, yes, I expect Travis Kelce to have a big game. I expect Xavier Worthy to have a pretty decent game as well. But how much can Xavier take over that Rashee Rice position? I mean, Rice was doing things that Travis Kelce was doing last year, finding the open holes in the zones, going off script. That's why he was getting so many targets. And I just don't know if Xavier's ready for that type of role yet. And so, I don't know. I don't think the Saints will win, but I think they can cover 5.5 just because that offense can get things rolling. And that Saints defense is slept on too. You know, don't sleep on them. All right. So, yeah, I got the Saints covering that 5.5. And so, with that being said, we'll see how that goes this week. I'm in the lead, I believe, over Dion. And so, lock of the week, though, D. Here we go. Lock of the week. Who you got?
I think surprisingly, I'm gonna take the Ravens.
Okay, 2.5 minus 2.5.
Minus 2.5 over the Bengals. I think that's like I said, if they do the ground and pound just like they just did this previous week, yeah, I definitely think that should be an easy lock. What about you?
This one's tough. There's a lot of matchups that I don't like. And so I'm looking at the list. I'm just like, bro, I don't like any of these. If I were to choose one, and I'm looking at 2 specifically, I want to go Denver because I don't trust the Raiders, but I don't trust Bo Nix. You know what I'm saying? I really don't. And so I want to go Denver. But instead, my lock of the week, I'm going Colts. Plus 2.5 versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville, they look depleted. I mean, they are a squad that just can't seem to figure it out. So I'm actually going to go Colts plus 2.5. If it's Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco, I have confidence in both of them that they can beat the Jaguars. So yeah, 1 plus 2.5 with them. That's our locks of the week. And look who we're joined by now. My boy Reggie Wilson in the building. What's up, baby? Great timing. Great timing. Yeah, we were just talking about the NFL pick'ems for this week. And of course, the Vikings, they have a big time matchup overseas, correct?
Yes, sir. Over in London.
The Jets.
Who looked
Hey,
great last week. The Jets looked amazing on Sunday. Just kidding. just kidding. Yeah, I'm not going though. I'm not going.
Oh man, I thought they had big money over there at KARE. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought so too.
Well, thank you for joining us, big dog. Man, I know you got a lot on your plate. A lot of things happening in Minnesota right now, bro. That city is going crazy. And you have the Vikings that are undefeated. So let's start there. Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell. I would like to say, I put on record, I trusted Kevin O'Connell. I thought he was going to get everything figured out because he's a mastermind. But the fact that the defense has been so dominant, has that been a shock? Or is that something that everyone expected with Brian Flores coming in?
No, not a shock. I think continuity was important. he was here last year, but it kind of fizzled. Like if you remember last year, he kind of had that defense cooking. They were on full display on that Monday night game against San Francisco last year that they upset the 49ers. And they had Brock Purdy in hell, you know what I mean? But then, this year, I thought what was interesting is, Brian Flores comes from that Bill Belichick tree. And on defense, the identity is positionless players, you know what I mean? And so you got guys who are safeties who sometimes play corner. And you got corners who sometimes play safety, and linebackers who may rush, and you got edge rushers who may drop back in coverage, and everybody's interchangeable. And I think that was a point of emphasis this offseason, getting guys in the building who could do what it was that Brian Flores wants them to do. One of those guys was Andrew Van Ginkel. They had history from their time in Miami. He identified Van Ginkel as a player that he wanted in his system again because he was a guy who was smart, instinctive, and just a athlete out there, bro. Like you can line him up on the edge, he can rush the passer, or he can drop in coverage, or as we've seen in back-to-back weeks. What was funny was the first night practice that the Vikings had, Andrew Van Ginkel picked off Sam Darnold on the same play that he picked off Daniel Jones in week 1. Right at the line of scrimmage, him diagnosing it and like, oh yeah, this is a screen pass, I'm taking that to the crib. And he almost did it again the next week against Brock Purdy. And so this is just what he does. And if you remember last year with the Dolphins when they were playing the Commanders, he did the same thing, picked it off at the line of scrimmage, took it to the crib. And so, you got guys like that. They lost Danielle Hunter, but then they signed JG, Jonathan Grenard. He had 3 sacks against the Texans. And you draft a guy like Dallas Turner. And Dallas Turner, he missed a little bit of time with a knee injury, but then, first week of the season, sack. He's an instant impact player. So you got guys like that. But then when you talk about positionless players, Josh Metellus is just like a jack of all trades. Technically, he's a safety, but he kind of plays that hybrid linebacker role where you can put him in the box. You can line him up, at safety. And he's just a guy who just kind of roams and just does what the defense needs him to do. Harry is 76 years old back there, still balling for Brian Flores. He decided against retirement, but he wanted to come back because he liked what Brian Flores is doing. He's a mastermind of controlled chaos. I know you probably see all the stuff online, all these people breaking down all the crazy stuff that he does, showing zero. I don't know if you saw the
and then getting back to the cover 3.
Yes, bro. Or cover 2. What was it? Stephon Diggs at the end of the game last week. He was just like, "Hey man, stop doing zero." and Brock Purdy after they beat the 49ers, walking up, scheme is crazy. So like he's doing some things that is just causing chaos for opposing quarterbacks. I think something that we saw last week was Jordan Love kind of saw a little bit of chink in that defense, and I think Matt LaFleur, who Brian Flores was extremely complimentary of, leading up into that game, he kind of figured out a few things to kind of neutralize the defense. But then you did also see 3 interceptions from Jordan Love on Sunday. So even though he was figuring some things out, he was still confused out there too. There was one brutal interception that got Christian Watson on the shelf with a high ankle sprain. He threw in the triple covers trying to fit one into Christian Watson, but his eyes deceived him. And that is what he is doing to every opposing quarterback every week. Aaron Rodgers struggled mightily. I know it was a lot of rain in that game as well, but he struggled mightily last week against the Broncos and Vance Joseph's defense. Good luck. Yeah. Good luck in London, brother. Good luck.
Yeah, facts. And, you spoke about a lot of those guys on that defense. And, I mean, some other guys I just want to name out is dude that Dallas let walk away and Stephon Gilmore. Like, why would the Cowboys let him walk? I bet they wish they had him now. But just adding a
Yeah.
former defensive player of the year to that
Yeah.
boundary is crazy. And then
Who-
another guy from Houston, Blake
and-
Cashman.
Yes, yep. To
Big
your
pickup.
point,
No one talked about it under the radar, but yeah.
yep. To your point, Corey. You mentioned Cashman. I'll talk him first. So Brian Flores and Blake Cashman's linebackers coach at the University of Minnesota, their kids go to the same school, and so they just happen to cross each other's paths. And he brought up Blake Cashman to Brian Flores. And Brian Flores said he didn't really know much about him. But then after his linebackers coach was so complimentary of him, he was like, oh, let me take a look. Let me go study this dude. Went and studied the tape. Was like, oh, I love this dude. Oh, and he's an impending free agent. We gotta sign him. We gotta scoop him up. And so that was a guy that they decided that they were going to go after, and they targeted, and he's been an extremely productive player so far for the Vikings this season, wearing the green dot. And the other guy, who was the other guy you mentioned, Stephon Gilmore? So, of course, he won Defensive Player of the Year when he was teamed up with Brian Flores in New England. And so he brought a familiar guy to Minnesota. And funny enough, we were just talking to Stephon Gilmore on Sunday in the locker room after the Green Bay win. They're not throwing to him. You think Stephon Gilmore and Harry are the same age? Like they're getting up there.
Yeah,
but to have a guy on the outside who is a little bit up in age, and quarterbacks are being a little bit, second guessing to throw to a guy, speaks to his ability level still at this age. And the fact that he was still available late into training camp is just kind of crazy. And now the Vikings look extremely smart for being able to bring him in.
Man, it's a great things happening over there in Minnesota. And I know Dion wanted to talk about the other side of the ball, though. Sam Darnold is looking great, but that wasn't the plan coming in. At least from the outside looking in, that's what it seemed like. J.J. McCarthy.
Can you believe the hype,
guy.
Reggie? Is this legit, man, or is this just the beginning of the season? Everything's peachy. Is this Sam Darnold thing real?
I think so. I think Sam has showed us who he is. And look, if you watch the tape, I've been watching Dan Orlovsky, JT O'Sullivan, QB School, who is ironically broken down Sam Darnold's play every week. And it's a great watch just to get a understanding of what Sam is doing and what he's seeing out there. One thing that Kevin O'Connell has done, and one thing that is his point of emphasis, is the feet, the footwork, and the eye discipline. That's his thing. And I think Sam is talented enough. If you watch Sam Darnold throw passes, the ball just explodes out of his hand. He's got a cannon. And I think all he's needed, one, is the weapons, which he's not had, the coaching, which is instrumental, and the experience. And I think what you've seen from Sam Darnold in the past is that he is a guy that you can't rattle him to the point where, let me rephrase, Sam Darnold has been a guy that you have been able to rattle with pressure, speed up his eyes, speed up his feet. So far this season, even with pressure, he has made the right decisions with the football. And I think that's because of the coaching that Kevin O'Connell has done. My guy's out here looking like a QB whisperer out here. I mean, you could kind of see it.
I mean, there's names, bro. There's names. He had
Josh Dobbs last year.
Yeah.
Nick Mullins was throwing 3 picks every game, but he was also throwing for 400 yards, tossing the ball all over the field late last season as well. And, he's the backup currently right now. But he saw something in Sam Darnold that he could fix. And not saying that Sam Darnold is just all the way fixed, because if you watch some of the tape, he does live on the edge a little bit. If you saw on Sunday, tried to force that one to Aaron Jones, which I don't think that was an actual interception, because Xavier McKinney was bobbling as he was going to the ground and going out of bounds. But
Did they review it?
They reviewed it, call stood, interception. But bad mistake. There have been like a handful of plays in all the games that could have cost him greatly, but haven't. So you can still tell that there's much growth for him still. But so far this season, man, I mean, he's tossing 2 and 3 touchdowns a game, quarterback rating well over 100 in all these games. Like, I think you've seen enough to say that it's a trend. It's not necessarily like, oh, waiting on the other shoe to drop. I think some of the things that Kevin O'Connell has done, you know, you might see a season where, you know, he's like Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, a little bit of a resurgence for him. And that's a really great thing right now for the Vikings, especially considering that the wind kind of got knocked out of their sails a little bit in the preseason when J.J. McCarthy went down with the torn meniscus.
And really quick on that, do you think this starts a QB controversy going into next year?
It's too early, brother. It's too early. I think you just kind of let this play out. I was talking about this on the other pod that I do. I think you kind of just let it play out. If he goes and leads this team to the playoffs and they actually win a game as well, I think you have a hard time going away from Sam Darnold. And also you just have another year or two maybe of McCarthy just sitting back and learning, which, you know, we saw textbook example last week. It wasn't the greatest game for him, but like Jordan Love got a bag, you know, playing behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 seasons, and now he's got the keys to the car and he's excelling. You know, I mean, J.J. McCarthy is still only 21 years old. He just turned 21 in January. So, you know, even if he has to sit a couple years, like, he'll still be a young enough guy to lead the franchise forward with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hockenson. Like, the weapons are there. It's a great situation right now for Minnesota.
You just brought up TJ, and, you know, we're speaking to Reggie Wilson from KARE 11 right now. If you're listening in, just wanted to be mindful of your time. I know you got a lot going on. But I got TJ Hockenson on all my fantasy teams. You know, he's just one of those pickups that just like, he's going to help me out late in the season. Any update on him on the PUP list? And I heard he may be practicing next week. Is that true?
Yeah, he's eligible to be taken off of the PUP this week. But I think that they are, they're 4-0 right now. So they're having great success with the stable of tight ends that they have. Josh Oliver, Johnny Munt, Nick Muse. And I think they're going to be really careful. That was a pretty catastrophic knee injury. And I know TJ's been itching to get back. Like, he really wants to get back. But I think they're going to be as cautious as possible to make sure that his longevity is the top priority. So, you know, we may not see him until like week 7 or, you know, something like that, but he'll be back.
Sounds good. Well, let's move on to the other topics. Like I said, you got a lot on your plate, and I know you got to go. So, first off, let's start with the links. Dion, I know you wanted to talk to him about the way Nafissa's been playing, huh?
Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was not familiar with her game.
Oh man!
until she came to Dallas and put a whooping on my wings. But yeah, is this? Do you think this Lynx team can pull it out? I know the W in the playoffs is tough right now. Do you think they can pull it out and make it to at least to the finals?
I can see it. They did drop game 1 against Connecticut. They play again game 2 tonight, and look, that Connecticut matchup is tough. I think what was interesting about Fee averaging 40 points a game in that first series, they didn't have anybody for her to, like, Fee is like the woman version of Tim Duncan. Like, she can get you inside, she can get you out.
She don't do nothing crazy, but she finds a way to put the ball in the hole.
But she'll you know, she can put the ball on the floor, turn the back to the basket, turn around, little jumper in your face. But she can also stretch it out from 3 as well. Like, she's just got a great all around game. She's a hooper. Like, she's a flat out hooper. And I think, you know, off night, 19 points in game 1 against the Sun, you know, but it's just funny because Cheryl Reeve was like telling her team before game 2 of that last series against the Mercury, like, look, Fee is not going to score 38 points again. So we need everybody to band together and do their part. Fee comes out, scores 42 points in game 2 to send the Mercury home and maybe send Diana Taurasi to the sunset of her career. So that just speaks to her greatness. Like, she's an all-star. She's runner-up for the MVP this year, Defensive Player of the Year. She's a all-around great two-way player, and they are going to go as far as Fee takes them. And so I'm interested to see how they bounce back in game 2, because I know it was a tough loss in game 1, and that's the problem. The matchup is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you got Mabry coming out here and
you got DeWanna
and
Bonner,
hitting threes,
Thomas.
but you could throw Bonner, you could throw Thomas, you could throw either one of them at Fee, and they have the type of length that can be disruptive for her with the type of game that she plays and make her work for it a little bit more. And then they have the guard play that is complementary of their bigs. So this is a really tough matchup. They were 1-2 against the Sun in the regular season. So this is going to be their toughest challenge to date, trying to make it to the WNBA Finals.
Yeah, you talked about Connecticut Sun's guard play, Dejanay Garrington, the most improved player of the league right now. And, you know, you pair that with Bonner and Thomas down low defensively, they are a weapon on defense. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what Collier can do in game 2 against the Sun. And I don't know. I just feel like this year, the W has been very exciting. And even
Electric.
the first round matchups, man, it's just been amazing to see. And of course, you got the Aces on the other side losing game 1. That was surprising. So whoever comes out of this matchup has a really good shot at winning the title, no matter who they play in the West. So, yeah. Excited to see that.
Yeah, you said surprising, but I mean, the Liberty have been the best team in the league all year. There was a time this season where the Aces were kind of stuck in the mud and they were struggling. And I think that's what ended up leading to Asia just wearing t-shirts to the game every day. She's just like, look, I'm not for all the foolishness. Like, I'm here on business, so I'm wearing a t-shirt and sweats because it's time to go. It's time to get it in. So I'm interested to see how they bounce back. It's just so interesting how the W kind of stacks up their leagues. I think things will be a little bit more. Things will probably be a little less fluid next season and the seasons to come as these expansion teams kind of become a part of the fold, because you got last year's WNBA Finals matchup in the semis this year. It's just like, that doesn't seem fair, you know what I mean? Like, but they don't mix it up by conference. It's like a seeding thing. So I'm interested to see how the game grows. But this has been a fantastic season for the W, stemming from the fantastic college season with all these hoopers that transition to the W. Like, it's been really fun. It's been a lot of fun as a basketball enthusiast and myself as a W enthusiast to follow along. Obviously, one of the most historic franchises in the W, I get a chance to cover up here with the Minnesota Lynx, 4 rings in the last decade. So, you know, not too shabby.
It's light work.
Before we get to Cat, who's the face of the W?
The face of the W? Oh, it's Asia still.
Come on, bro.
It's definitely Asia.
Yeah, come on, bro.
That was going to catch him up.
Yeah, no, it's Asia for sure. I mean, do you see what she's doing? Like, she's her. She's her. Like, I think Caitlin, I think Fee, like they'll be up there with her, but no, it's definitely Asia until she says otherwise.
And she got the personality to back it up. And I think that's the biggest thing about being the face, right? You want to have a face that likes to talk. That's why a lot of people like Anthony Edwards out there in Minnesota, maybe being the next face of the NBA. And as we transition to that, you know, he has some new teammates now in Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. And you're sending over Kat to New York. Oh my goodness. Blockbuster deal that no one really saw coming, but maybe you did. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it coming either. I'm sitting at dinner at my frat brother's house, like, we having a conversation. All of a sudden, you know, you get the ping. Wait, the Wolves did what? And what's crazy about it is, just a month ago, I tweeted it as well, but I talked to the Wolves president of basketball operations, Tim Connolly. And, you know, since he's been here, he's been talking about, hey, I want to put Kat's jersey into the rafters. Like,
No.
you know, look, they signed him to that Supermax extension, and you know, they talked about how Cat is a building block. What was tough was just seeing that happen, because it was like, dang, like what happened? Like, and what's tough is that second apron is coming, and when you have max deals with Ant, with Jaden McDaniels, with Rudy, and Cat, when that second apron hits next year, like, and then they're going through this ownership squabble, like, you know, with A-Rod and
no side has majority or something like that.
Well, you know, right now still Glenn Taylor has the majority,
okay.
but he's trying to nix the sale, and there's now an injunction happening. So it's in court. We may not hear the end of it by, you know, until like the middle of the season. But you think about all the things that Cat has gone through here in Minnesota, and he's been incredibly committed to this organization. You know, going back to losing Flip, losing his mom, even after that, Gerson Rosas, who is the SVP of basketball operations with the Knicks now, traded for him, getting this guy to New York. But Gerson Rosas got dismissed because he was having an inappropriate relationship with one of the communications staffers. So like, he got dismissed and moved on. And so that happened right before media day. Yeah, the Jimmy Butler stuff. Like, he's been through some things, and then just recently last season, tore his meniscus, decided to get the procedure that allowed him to come back sooner because he wanted to help the team in the playoff push. And for the first two series, Cat was one of the MVPs of the team. And you know, who knows what the long-term effects of that knee is going to be, because he opted for the trim and not the full cleanup or the full repair of that knee. So you think about all the things that he's done and he's sacrificed, and for him to get traded, I think this is something that still he's processing and probably still trying to come to grips with. Going to play for Tibbs, who will run his ankles off again. You know, he's been there, done that.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
His former agent is in charge of the basketball team. His former president of basketball operations is SVP of basketball. So like, you kind of understand. You kind of understand the familiarity there, but then you also think about the basketball fit. Cat is a guy that is very content with shooting threes and being a 7-foot guard. And you think about the type of guy that they're getting back in Julius Randle, that bully ball. He may have high volume, shooting 20, 25 shots a game, you know.
ISO. I got it.
This is the part I was waiting for you from.
That first time he waves Anoff because he wants to go to the cup. Like, I'm interested to see how that goes, you know. But I'm wondering about the basketball fit with Julius Randle being in Minnesota. I don't know about it. I have to see. But also, I didn't know about the Twin Towers experiment. It didn't work out well with Rudy's first year in Minnesota, but that second year, you know, Finchie is a guy who is offensive minded, who is very creative. He figured it out, because if you think about it, when he was in New Orleans, he had you in New Orleans at one point, but when he was in New Orleans, he had a bigs lineup at the 4 and the 5, DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis, and he made that work, and it looked good for a while when both of those guys were healthy. And so I'm not doubting Finchie and his ability to make it work, but I'm just like, I don't know, man. I feel like they needed another floor spacer, because Jaden McDaniels is not offensive minded. He's not developed into that 3-and-D guy that you need just yet. I mean, you did get Rob Dillingham in the draft, and TJ Shannon is a guy who is coming in with some polish, having been a pretty older draft pick.
And he popped off in Summer League.
He did. And so I'm interested to see how all of those things work, especially with Rudy with his bad hands and him being so limited offensively. I'm interested to see how that works, because you trade a pillar like that who's been here for 9 years, and that definitely leaves a hole. But I do understand from a basketball standpoint and a financial standpoint, they felt like they had to do something a little bit different. But they don't feel like they're going to take a step back. I'm interested to see if they're proven right by this move.
And you said financially, do you think this was a situation where there just weren't many suitors for Rudy? You could have got rid of him too, but instead you think there was more suitors for Cat?
Yeah, nobody wants.
Reigning defensive player of the year, and he's coming off the bench for France. Like, I think Rudy is who Rudy is. Now, Rudy's going to galvanize your team defense, and he's going to be a great regular season player. But I think when the stakes get high and you're in the playoffs, like, sometimes Rudy can become a liability. But I also think it's kind of unfair to Rudy at times to think that on an island he's going to guard Luka one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like, that was ridiculous to even think that was going to be a winning situation with him. And so, but I think because Rudy, he needs help to get his offense. And there are limitations to his game with the number that he is now, making. I just don't think that you got anything very valuable for him. But I also think that they felt like he galvanized the team defense, because if you get rid of someone like Rudy and kept Cat, now, cleaning up on the glass and blocking shots, that's not a thing that is very much at the forefront as opposed to how it is with Rudy. Now, I do think they get some flexibility because maybe he's not the shooter that Cat is, or, the dynamic person that Cat is, but look out for Naz Reid, because now you're looking at a guy who can step out and shoot the three, but who gives max effort, who will go get boards, who gets steals. Like, Naz kind of plays like a guard, but he can challenge himself to guard defensively as well and put the ball on the floor. He's just so fluid out there when he puts the ball on the floor, as opposed to Cat. Sometimes when he puts the ball on the floor, it's like he's a charge waiting to happen. So
it looks ugly.
Yeah, so I think there's some give and take to this deal, but it's a tough deal.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how everything panned out. I think Cat, he's kind of like AD to me in a sense of I think he plays better at the 5. I think that is the best that he plays. I think if you look back before Rudy got there, Cat was arguably one of the most prolific offensive scorers at the 5 position. And now he's going to be able to do that in New York. But also on the flip side of things, DiVincenzo, he's coming off a career year. And I was surprised he had to get included into this deal. And, a lot of conversation when Mikal signed over there in New York, it was like, what's going to happen to DiVincenzo? You got the Nova boys back, but there have been reports that he wasn't really cool with the Nova boys being back, because that means he's going to be on the bench. And so I look at the Timberwolves roster, and I don't see where he starts on that team. And so
no, he doesn't.
Exactly. Do you think DiVincenzo is a 6th man now?
Yeah. He and Nas will be fighting for that 6-man role again. But I think he's a guy that comes off the bench like immediately, like the first substitution off the bench, and he's a guy that probably still will get you 25 to 28 minutes a night. So I think that also takes the pressure off of playing some of these young guys, because you just kind of Dillingham needs some time, Terrence Shannon needs some time, and so you have great hope for them, but they might need a little time. Yeah. And so now, but now you're opening up. They got a lot of depth on that bench. When you talk about Nikhil, Alexander Walker, DiVincenzo, Dillingham, Ingles, Shannon, like Nas, like you got some guys that are coming off the bench that can be productive. So if nothing else, they're going to be deep. I'm just interested to see how Finchie works out these rotations.
Man, you know your stuff, Reggie, bro. That's why I love having you on, bro. You can talk anything and everything Minnesota, bro. Thank you so much, bro. Dion, you had anything else for him before we let him go?
Nah, we talked everything. So, we appreciate you for taking the time, for real.
Thanks
Where can people listen to your pod, bro?
Locked On Minnesota, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah, just looked on Locked On Minnesota, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Man, I've listened to a bunch of Locked On podcasts, so I didn't know it was affiliated with Locked On. So yeah, Locked On is everywhere. Thank you again, Reggie, bro. Thank you so much, and hope to have you on as well. As the Vikings continue to win, right? That's the hope. They continue to move through. They're going to get a loss at some point, but hopefully it's not anytime soon. So
we'll see.
We'll see. Well, thank you again, Reggie, for your time.
Yes, sir.
Every time we bring Reggie on, I'm just like, why don't we bring him on more? Like, because he just continues to give us information after information after information, and he is so knowledgeable about everything Minnesota. But what'd you like about our combo, Dion?
He got faith in them links, man.
He do.
Nafisa, I mean, she's the real deal, dog. I'm sad that I wasn't familiar with her game until later in the season. I mean, I saw the numbers, but I didn't get to witness it I never got to watch it on TV. But watching it live in person, I mean, she's one of those people that can just get a bucket and she gets 40 and it don't feel like she got 40. You know what I'm saying? Like those Kevin Durant like games where it's like, okay, you look up, oh damn, he got 30 something, he got 35. When did he? But her game, she does it all. Threes, layups, gets to the free throw line. She's really impressive, and I'm excited to see. I think that's kind of like the I guess you can say the dark horse pick out of the playoffs at this moment in time. So, what about you, Corey?
I thought it was interesting how he said that. What is the owner of the Timberwolves that was praising Cat and saying like, I want him to be one of these staples in this franchise.
He went from a building block to a trading block. That is a crazy.
It's crazy
time.
But that's business, right? That's business in sports and NBA and NFL. And that's why when players are holding out, when players want the bread, the max money they can get, and fans are pissed off because they're missing practice, fans are pissed off because they're holding out and they don't want to come into the building, and they're like, just play your sport. You're so lucky to be making millions of dollars. This is why the players do it, because the owners and the GMs, they talk this big game about how you're such a big piece for our squad, you're a building block, you're a foundational piece, and next thing you know, you wake up to a phone call from your agent saying you're getting shipped off to New York. Like, that's why players do it. That's why they ask for every single penny whenever they are in contract negotiations, because these situations like this. And now look at Cat. He may be in a better situation, low key, but at the end of the day, he didn't want to leave Minnesota. That wasn't on his hand of cards that he wanted to play. And so, dang, that sucks. That really does suck for Cat. Thinking and now knowing that context from Reggie, that they were talking to him like he was going to be a Timberwolf for life, and now you wake up and now you're a Knick. And so we'll see what happens though with that whole situation. And I'm honestly excited to see him play the 5 again, because like I said in our conversation with Reggie, Cat was dominant as a center because it's just a bad matchup for every other center in the league. I mean, he's just too mobile and he plays like a guard. And now you got Jalen Brunson alongside you. You got Mikal Bridges. I would think so.
Don't they still got Mitchell Robinson?
He's recovering. He's recovering from an injury. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I would play Cat at the 5 and bring Mitchell off the bench, if I'm being honest. Because what I would do, I would have Jalen Brunson at the 1. You'll probably have Mikal at the 2. That's what I'm thinking. Or Mikal at the 3. If Mikal's at the 3, they picked up Josh Hart at the 3. That's who's at the 3. And then OG at the 4. And they put Cat at the 5. So Brunson, Bridges, Hart, OG, Cat. That's a nasty starting 5. And they all can guard. And they all are long. And they all can switch. And so, yeah, I just think that starting 5 is nasty in New York. And I think he's in a good situation. I just hate that it went down like this. But it's about to go down the rest of this pod, huh? We're about to be finished. So, Dion, what's your final thoughts from this pod and just in general?
Final thoughts was a great pod, but I think final thoughts has to be that double-header NFL games are the dumbest idea ever made up. Why are there 2 games going on at the same time? Just stagger the games. I just don't.
What you mean, bro? For entertainment.
No, we can't watch both games. I don't get it. So what's the point of? Why is one on ESPN and ESPN3? Why is one on ESPN and?
You ain't got the multi-box?
We're not getting money like that yet. So no. Like, come on, man.
No, I hate it when they're both on commercials. It's like, ain't that the point of having 2 games on? So then I can flip to the other game and then that will be playing? That's my biggest pet peeve, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't get it. And then why do you have, well, I guess they couldn't predict, Tua getting hurt, but
yeah,
at least make them 2 bangers of a game at least. Like that other game, Will Levis and Tua, I guess they was trying to hype up.
Yeah, I guess. But remember last year though? Last year was a phenomenal game between Will Levis and Tua. That's when Levis had that breakout game. He came back from behind. I think they were down 14 points in the fourth quarter, and Levis led them down the field, game-winning touchdown to D-Hop. It was a great game, except this time around, both of those quarterbacks weren't playing. So, fast forward, you got Snoop out there.
We got
Snoop Huntley.
Mean Machine.
And Mason Rudolph. Well, yeah, I mean, Levis getting hurt in the first quarter also. Like, I wanted to see Levis do Levis things, right? We weren't able to see that at all. We got Mason Rudolph instead, who played, he won the game, but it wasn't great. So I agree with you, bro. My final thoughts. Oh, Facebook Marketplace is a great place. It's a great environment to be in. So if you watch the pod regularly, you would know that I'm always standing. This pod, I am sitting down because I got 4 new bar stools from Facebook Marketplace. $180, Dion. What a steal. What a steal. So shout out Facebook Marketplace. Thank you for letting me sit my butt down so I can do this pod without standing for 2 or 3 hours. And I'm blessed and highly favored. But that was my final thoughts, I think. I think that's it. I don't have anything else I wanted to say. I'm trying to think. The Astros, bro. Astros better win game 2 and game 3, bro. I'm going to be so pissed. By the time you listen to this pod, the series will be over. And so I'm hoping that I'm a happy Corey Astros fan and not a pissed off Corey Astros fan. So let's go Astros. Come on, baby. I know we cheat, but if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. All right, that's it for the Mose Knows pod. As always,
this guy's been in a pod with a Facebook ad. Hey, come on, let's do that again, bro. He's been in there with a Facebook ad.
What's wrong with a Facebook ad, bro?
It's crazy, dude.
What you want me to say, bro? What you want me to say?
As usual, this is how we end the pod, Corey. Let's do it. Let's go.
Okay. Wait. Okay, I did. I did just say.
Come on, let's do it. No, I didn't. Come on, let's do it again.
Okay. So, what do you want me to start from? As usual?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. As usual, let's end the pod this way. Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. Stay up to date with Mose Knows by subscribing to Corey Mose on YouTube or simply searching Mose Knows on Spotify or Apple Music. Thanks for listening and have a great week.